Welcome to this Quick Take Rapid Learning module. Today's topic, building relationships, get the first meeting right. Our subject matter expert is Ed Wallace of the Relational Capital Group. Today, Ike's at his first meeting with Jane Boone, president of Boone Incorporated, a large food distribution company. Jane wants to overhaul her accounting software system. After the usual pleasantries, Ike and Jane get down to business. Ike conducts rigorous sales discovery. He asks about Jane's systems, her challenges, and her time frame for converting her software. Jane responds to Ike's questions and asks several of her own. During the discovery process, Ike feels very confident that Jane likes him. Jane thinks he's knowledgeable, and she's impressed by his questions and her answers. Jane, Ike says, I think I get the picture. Would you like to hear my thoughts? Sure, Jane says. You know, we have several products, but based on what you've said, I think our T35 enterprise system would be best for you. I've got several other clients whose needs are similar to yours, and that's the one I recommend for them, and they're very happy. Ike then describes the features and benefits of the T35. Jane listens intently and says, Ike, you know a lot about accounting software. I'll discuss this with my colleagues and get back to you. But she doesn't, and Ike never gets Jane's business. In this quick take, you'll learn what a prospect really wants from that initial meeting, the biggest mistake you can make during your first meeting with a prospect, and yes, Ike made it, and all about ROC, rapport, objectives, credibility, a process that ensures your first meeting with a client won't be your last. So how did Ike blow the sale? After all, he had the experience, did the research, and his product was just right for Jane's needs. Well, we already know what Ike was thinking. Now, let's take a look at what was on Jane's mind. You know, Jane, we have several products, but I think our T35 enterprise system is best for you. Whoa! I met him an hour ago and he thinks he can solve all my problems? I've got several other clients whose needs are similar to yours. Don't put me in a box. Nobody's just like me. That's the one I recommend for them, and they're very happy. So you're assuming I'll be happy? Ike set a trap for himself, one that's easy to fall into even for experienced salespeople. What was it? Well, at this initial meeting, Ike tried to solve Jane's problem. No doubt, Ike had the best of intentions, but he made a fatal mistake. He tried to help the prospect without first going through the most important element of the process, launching the relationship. Sure, there will always be some customers who just want a price, a handshake, and a goodbye. But in the vast majority of cases, at the initial meeting, the prospect isn't looking for solutions. What? Wait a minute. Isn't that what sales is all about? Providing solutions? Yes, but not right away. Sure, good salespeople are trained to solve their clients' problems, but at the initial face-to-face, Jane wants to know, who is this person and is he really listening to me? Does this guy have my best interests at heart? Does he really appreciate the uniqueness of my situation? And most important, can I trust this person? So what could Ike have done differently to begin establishing a relationship and creating a foundation of trust? Well, one way would be to use a simple but powerful method called ROC, which has 3 key elements: seeking rapport with your prospect, arriving at common objectives, and demonstrating credibility. Let's see what might have happened if Ike had used ROC to build his relationship with Jane. This time, Ike enters Jane's office and says, Jane, I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you. Then, Ike pauses to allow Jane to decide whether she wants to engage in rapport or get right down to business. That pause is critical. It allows Jane to take the lead in the conversation. However Jane chooses to fill that pause is the way the conversation will go. If Jane wants to talk about her tennis game or her kids, fine. And if she wants to get right down to facts and figures, that's fine too. It's her meeting and her choice. Next, Ike talks to Jane about their meeting's objectives. Of course, he could do what many salespeople are trained to do, take control from the get-go and let Jane know that he's on top of things. Jane, here's what I'd like to cover today. I'll ask you some questions and then explain our product to you and blah, 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 which gets Jane thinking, that's not what I want out of this meeting. Who's this guy think he is? But Ike doesn't take control of the meeting. Instead, he seeks a healthy give and take. Jane, I'd like to learn more about you and discuss your company's situation so we can mutually decide on the next step. Jane thinks, I like his lack of presumption. He's not just trying to sell me. Ike never tells Jane what their objectives should be, but makes it clear he seeks collaboration. Words like learn and discuss are friendly, exploratory, and inclusive, not threatening. They show that he respects Jane, her time, and her priorities. Finally, Ike tries to find out as much as possible about Jane's goals and what might be keeping her from achieving them. His questions are tailored to her company alone. Jane, I read in Food Trade News that Boone just acquired a small competitor. What are some of the biggest integration challenges you see with that acquisition? You mentioned that you're consolidating your accounting processes in one office. What kind of resources and expertise will you need to accomplish that efficiently? Jane thinks, wow, this guy just put his finger on the two biggest headaches we're now facing. Because Ike really did his homework, he's asked the right questions. He doesn't need to tell Jane how good he is at his job or how great his product is. His questions show his level of expertise and establish both his credibility and his competence. But what Ike doesn't do at this initial meeting is just as important as what he does. No matter how perfect his product may be, no matter how much he may want to help Jane, Ike resists the urge to offer a solution. At this meeting, he knows that his first priority isn't to sell, but to get the relationship off on the right foot. Ike knows that without a good relationship, without trust, no other good things can happen. Let's review. In most cases, don't offer a solution during the initial meeting. At that initial meeting, your goal is to launch the relationship. ROC is an effective way to earn trust. Its three elements are establishing rapport, always letting the prospect take the lead, getting to objectives that are mutually initiated and agreed upon, and developing credibility by asking questions that show, not tell your prospect that you are both credible and competent. Thanks for watching.